So the next topic of our discussion is the start of the ISJC. The ISJC means the International Skateboarding Judging Commission. So Luca, uh, let's talk a little bit more. What is this judging commission? Where did it come from? Like, who called it out? Like, we understand now from our discussion, and I hope the viewers get the point. World Skate is the governing body for skateboarding, right? As an organized sport. That's the organization who is basically in charge of many of these things. But when it comes to the International Skateboarding Judging Commission, how did it all started? Like, who called the shots? Who brought the people? Who were those guys?
All right, Martin. So let's say there has been a, let's say, a morphing process from the first International Skateboard Judging Commission that was basically a seminar where we all got together and found that consensus. And that happened 1 year before the start of the qualification season. Second instance of the commission was in November, has been called in November of 2019, after the wrapping of the first qualification season of the Olympic Committee, for us to be able to get the judges that have been judging the first qualifier events together and debrief, just talk about how it's been, what needed to be improved. And for the first time, we called in the room also athletes.
That's a great thing, because I remember this first meeting was called to Nanjing, China. And part of this meeting was not just a bunch of guys sitting around, but it was actually the best judges from the main global events existing at the time from around the world. So we had people from Vans Park Series, Street League, X Games, Do Tour, all these judges sitting around at Nice, European Open, the big events from the continents, guys from Japan, guys from Australia, guys from Russia. Everybody was sitting at one table and discussing their experiences and inputs, and basically putting together the guidelines, what is good and what should be implemented, right, for the first event. So when the people from the continents come together for the events, they are judged and they are organized on the practices and criteria that they know, they understand, and they can relate to as skateboarders, right?
Yep, absolutely. And moving on from that, of course, we had the first qualification season. We had a pool of judges working at those events, and then we stepped to the next, let's say, level of the conversation, and just not just talking about skateboard judging in general, like we did before the start of the qualification season, but start talking about the skateboard judging we conducted and how that reflected on events and on athletes as a big part of it.
Okay.
Moving on from there, and it was the time, and that was 2020, for us to set up a stable structure for the International Skateboarding Judging Commission. And this brings us to the current commission and how it operates.
Let's look into that a little more. So we have this beautiful slide that kind of explain the roles and the aim of the ISJC here. And you mentioned that we had not only the experts, the field experts from the judging, but also the athletes, part of this this group of experts. And I think many people are interested into understanding, like, how does this work and what they talk about, because we always mention, and World Skate mentions it as a general, the athletes are the key component of what we do for skateboarding, and we always listen to them and try to stay up with their needs and requirements as well as provide the environment that it's needed for the healthy progression and ongoing evolution of skateboarding. So when we look at this slide here and basically the scope of work, can we talk a little bit more about it, just briefly?
Sure, Martin. I mean, it's important for us to keep an eye on the effect that judging has on skateboarding. Of course, when you set the rules and you set the scoring rules for skateboarding, you in a way are indirectly pushing skateboarding performances to one direction, and that is inevitable. So, of course, after we do that, we need to be able to assess what happened. So the International Skateboarding Judging Commission has the duty of observing what's happening in skateboarding and observing the impact that judging has on competitive skateboarding. As the, of course, the duty of discussing with the athlete's representative how they feel that judging impacts on athletes. And it's important to have their feedback firsthand. This
Okay, so let me just ask. So that means basically that the rules that we discussed that were composed and put together on the first ISJC meeting in China, they are not set in stone. They evolve together with skateboarding. And basically the aim of this ISJC group is to keep up with skateboarding and kind of include and reflect on the necessary and needed changes and adjustments in the system of judging, so it's up to date. Am I correct with that one?
100%. Skateboarding is alive, lively, and keeps evolving, and it's indispensable for us to be able to adapt to it. And this is important. It's not skateboarders that need to adapt to judging, but it's judging that need to observe, take note, and second the natural evolution of skateboarding without intruding or forcing it into any direction.
Exactly. This is great that you said, because we want to keep the freedom of expression into skateboarding at the maximum. And we never want to say you have to do this or that, because that would fall into some other categories of traditional sports. And this is just not the nature, the soul of skateboarding that we try to preserve. And that's why we consult with the athletes, right?
Yeah, and that's another important thing that needs to be said. It's is how the commission is formed. So each of the disciplines represented in the athletes commission, and as of now we have street, park, and vert as a starter. It's discipline as a group of 7 people in the ISJC, and these 7 members of the ISJC are parted in this way. So we have, for in the first place, 2 athletes members that are appointed into the ISJC by the World Skate Athletes Commission. Then you have other 3 spots that are appointed from World Skate. So basically the director of judging selecting them because of their performance and knowledge and experience. And
so
then,
those are the good judges who really understand what they are doing, and they have the kind of broader perspective on the context of judging and the effects that it takes on skateboarding, right?
correct.
Okay.
And then, even more importantly, and this is something that will be more and more important moving ahead in the next few years, when you that are now attending this course will do your homework and scale up from the national level into the international events and start judging events and acquire a status within the World Skate judging system. We also have 2 spots of the 7 in each commission section that are elected members, meaning they are members that the pool of judges that qualifies to vote can elect into the International Judging Commission. The reason we set it up in this way is because, again, we don't want World Skate to dictate We
Hmm.
want this body to be alive, lively, and reflect what are the opinions of athletes and what are the opinions of the new judges that are coming into the system and have enough experience to make their points.
Now, this is really great because basically for all the viewers, you just said that they have a chance in the future, if they do their thing right and they are good judges, to become members of this commission and basically put their input included and in the shaping of the rules and the guidelines and work with the athletes in the future. So for all of you guys, this is a message. It means something. Your voice, your opinions matters, your experience matters. And World Skate and the ISJC is open to you if you meet the criteria. So please do your thing, study hard, practice hard, and one day you could be the guys who are putting your voice and shape the face of skateboarding. This is really good, Luca. I think this is like the positive thing that the doors are open and the people who are now watching us or will be watching us in the future can actually take part of this, that it's not a closed club. Okay, this is great. Now let's move a little bit to the next topic. We should talk about the results of this cooperation. We just mentioned that, you know, judges and riders meet together with the officials who are in charge of the sport of skateboarding. So what has been the outcome? And this is the topic of our next part.